My wife doesn't give a shit about me. My wife and I have been married for 9 years last month. I've felt for 8 of those like she doesn't care about me at all, and today I feel even more like that than ever. Last month was Mother's Day, our anniversary, and my wife's birthday. For Mother's Day, I got her a new Apple Watch and helped our then 22-month-old daughter make a Mother's Day card for her. For our anniversary I got her a new, moderately expensive leather purse and wallet from some small company she loves and had been wanting for a while. For her birthday, I convinced my mother to come to town for the weekend to babysit our daughter and got an overly expensive hotel one town over and tickets to a once-in-lifetime concert that I knew she would enjoy immensely, as well as dinner at a restaurant she's been talking about wanting to try since it opened last year. My mother wound up having to delay coming to town because a flight got cancelled, and didn't leave till the next day. So instead of us getting 2 nights in a hotel, I sent her to the hotel on Friday so she could get a night off of mommy duty on her birthday as planned, and the following day I met her there after my mom finally made it to town. None of these things were what I'd call cheap. Her birthday weekend wound up being $1,500 due to the concert tickets, hotel, and the restaurants we ate at. The Apple Watch was $500 and the purse wallet were around $400. None of those things are what we'd call cheap. But I love my wife and wanted to show my appreciation for her and what she means to me. All of these things are things she's asked for and wanted. None were wild guesses with no thought. All were wrapped or presented in a fun way. This morning was my birthday. I sadly got stuck at work today and tomorrow. For months I've been telling my wife I'd love a new chef's knife. She's been sitting next to me and asked me about some I've been looking at on my phone at times, and I've shown her. The prices of the knives I've been looking for have ranged from $70 to $200. None are astronomically expensive, definitely more expensive than what we have now, but none that are cheap obscene given the amount of years of use you'll get out of a chef's knife with a little bit of maintenance. Tomorrow is Father's Day. I didn't have to be at work till 10. I wasn't even allowed to sleep until 8 because my wife wouldn't go get our daughter. I do wake up and breakfast 7 days a week. I couldn't even get a single morning off. My nearly 2-year-old already spoiled my Father's Day gift. It's a cheap, custom travel cup with her face on it. I don't travel with drinks. When I'm in my car it's usually bottles with lids. At work it's just regular paper cups. Today my wife gave me my birthday present before I went to work. It's a phone case. A nice case, sure, but it's a $30 phone case that, according to her, I said that looks nice when we online looking at other things. Neither of these were wrapped or any thought was given about the gift. She just handed it to me on her way out of town to go see her mom as an afterthought because she might not be home by the time I get off work. Now we could say that my wife is just a bad gift giver. I'll admit she's not great at it and that's forgivable. But she doesn't give a shit about me, and this is just another way she's shown I'm not important to her. If an even is important to her, she goes overboard with it and invests everything into it. For years when she asked me what kind of cake I want for my b-day, I've always answered red velvet if she's making it, or an ice cream cake if she's buying one. My wife loves to bake. She bakes her own birthday cake every year. Every one of my birthday cakes has been a store-bought cake. Not even the kind I've asked for. Every day when I get off work, I text or call her and ask if she needs anything on my way home. I have never said no when she actually asks. She'll frequently get herself and our daughter something to eat after picking her up from daycare, but when they get home, she's gotten nothing for me. I love my wife. But damn, I'm tired of not feeling like a priority to her at all. Our S-Time life is lucky if we have S-Time once a month, and it's been like that for 5 years. And it's always the same basic thing with no permission to try something new or experimentation on her part. It always makes me feel guilty after, because it feels like we only had S-Time for me because she shows no signs of enjoying it or wanting it, yet she initiates and then just tries to get me off as fast as possible. I feel like she doesn't care about me. I feel like she enjoys the perks of being married but wants to do the bare minimum to say she was doing her part. I know everyone is going to say divorce, but that's the last thing I want. She says she loves me, but I don't feel loved or valued, and I've communicated that, but nothing changes. What can I do to better communicate that and be heard? Redditor's reactions, story 2 after. Redditor 1, you guys need to see a marriage counselor quick before you blow up from resentment. Redditor follow-up, the resentment seems to have bubbled to the brim like balls that are ready to be emptied. Redditor 2, I have been in a similar situation. 2 books helped me out, When I Say No I Feel Guilty, and No More Mr. Nice Guy. Your best bet is to start making yourself into the best version of you and make yourself your highest priority after your daughter. Buy the really nice knife for yourself, find a group of friends to hang out with a few times a month, start working out. Redditor follow-up, can recommend this very highly. I took myself off to Europe for 6 weeks for the first time in my life of marriage of 43 years. Our kids are grown. I provided them with new houses, cars, etc. as first-time buyer, and we have 4 grandkids. I just got fed up waiting for some form of response and worked on me and what I really wanted in my life I have left. Which is, lots of fun, affection and surprise, travel, meeting people and enjoying life. I married early at 24 to a gifts and deeds woman, and sadly I am a touch and words person, and no. The two do not work together unless both are willing to adapt. I have adapted to her languages, but sadly she didn't for me. I have a good life and have a lot of women contacting me who are also touch and words language people, and it is wonderful in the essence of the love of S-Time. Redditor 3, my wife loves to bake. She bakes her own birthday cake every year. Every one of my birthday cakes has been a store-bought cake. Not even the kind I've asked for. Bro, I think she hates you. That is the most mental acid I have ever heard. Redditor follow-up, yeah, when I read that I thought marriage counseling couldn't sort that SHT out, he needs individual therapy. Maybe to figure out she's been abusing him. It could be a huge misunderstanding, but what are the odds? Story 2, my wife gave birth to a black baby that clearly isn't mine, and I'm divorcing her. But I'm worried about the relationship between my 2 kids and their new half-sister. A month ago, my wife gave birth to a black baby girl. We're both white, so she was forced to admit that the child was a result of a one-night stand last year. I've started divorce proceedings, although we're still living together for now. Between our 2 boys aged 2 and 4, I've had paternity tests for them and they came back positive. Her infant daughter and her having lost her job due to COVID, living together as amicably as possible until the divorce is settled, is an unfortunate necessity. Naturally I have no ill will towards the baby, and I've been disgusted by some of the comments I've heard from family members, friends, co-workers and others, all who seem to be fixated on the racial angle of this. As if the most salient part of this isn't that my wife cheated, but that she cheated with a black man and that the baby is black. What really worries me is that my 2 sons might pick up on these narratives. They're too young to really understand what's happening now, but I'm worried that as they grow to understand the situation that they might grow to resent their half-sister for breaking up their parents' marriage. And worse, that their resentment might express itself in a racist fashion. under the influence of the aforementioned racist narratives. Any thoughts on how I should try to influence my sons away from that perspective? It probably doesn't help that we live in a suburb with very few black people and their half-sister is really the only black person my children know. Redditor's reactions update after. Redditor 1, I'm no parent, but I think telling the boys to love their sister no matter what, would do the situation some good. Or at least, to keep that message consistent through their upbringing. Answer, thank you. I agree that consistent messaging is important, probably need to coordinate that with their mother as well. Redditor 2, Step 1, you need to consult a lawyer in your jurisdiction to ensure you don't accidentally establish paternity, if it's not too late. Redditor follow-up, listen to this. In most jurisdictions you will be the father of this child by default since you were married to the mother at birth, assuming she didn't go out of her way to put her ONS's name on the birth certificate. This means you will be on the hook for this child no matter how obviously she is not yours. Redditor 3, I'll tell you what my dad did and you can use the info as you will. He invited my little brother, who was not his child, along with me to stay during the weekend. My brother wasn't the product of infidelity or anything, he's just my half-brother. My stepdad's son? But I didn't know for a while because my dad brought him along to the museums, and the water parks, and the movies, etc. pretty much any time I was at his place. My little brother was 2, and he never complained. He loved my brother. So that's an option. You can have the baby come with your sons occasionally, make sure they're treating her okay, and be an example for his to treat their sister. Update, my wife gave birth to a biracial baby that clearly isn't mine, and I'm divorcing her. But I'm worried about the relationship between my 2 kids and their new half-sister. Unfortunately my last post was locked, but I received a lot of helpful PMs from people. I'm particularly thankful for those who've lived through a similar situation or have family and friends who've done so and sent me advice on how this affected them and how to navigate the situation. I'd also like to thank the hundreds of mouth-breathing bigots who spammed my inbox. The big takeaway for me was that if I'd need to lead by example here, not excluding her in any way because of her paternity so that she and my sons would see her as a full member of the family. Also that I need to be more active in confronting the bigoted and ignorant nonsense I've been hearing, and teach my sons to do the same to protect their sister. I've spoken to some of those responsible since and made clear my feelings on this, and that she is to be treated as a member family, and that if I ever find out that they've said things like that to my sons or their sister that they won't be allowed around us anymore. I've spoken to my wife about this, and we're more or less on the same page. She's been begging me to forgive her and not go through the divorce, but that's not going to happen. Even if I didn't consider the cheating unforgivable, I just don't feel any love for her anymore, other than a platonic affection for her as the mother of my children. My sons are handling this as well as can be expected. The 4-year-old doesn't fully understand, but is upset by the change in the household. Thankfully he's easily distracted. The 2-year-old is thankfully too young to comprehend what's going on, but has definitely picked up on how withdrawn his mother has become. They're both fascinated with their new little sister, so there's that silver lining. My wife Otto isn't in good shape at all. She was depressed even before the birth, and now with everything our divorce, her infidelity being revealed and the backlash from family and friends, PPD, and the exhaustion from raising an infant, she's barely functional. She's seeing a therapist, and I've been pressuring some of our family and friends to be supportive of her because even if they think she deserves it, her current state is making it harder for me and our children. It's become very obvious to me that even after the divorce is finalized, we're going to have to live together for a while longer. She's in no shape to be taking care of 3 kids without someone else around to support her, and I'm not willing to deprive her of her sons by seeking sole custody. It's also too difficult financially, since she's lost her job because of COVID. As for the baby girl, she's healthy and fairly easy by baby standards. Since I've been helping care for her, I've bonded with her and I've discussed the possibility of adopting her with my wife. She can't contact the father, as the only thing she knows about him is his first name. And given our co-parenting situation, it feels like adopting her as my daughter would be the best outcome for all involved. However, there's been a wrench thrown in that plan. It was brought to my attention that there may be a way of finding the baby's father, namely by having her DNA tested by Ancestry DNA. If the father or one of his relatives has also taken the test, we may be able to find him through their DNA match database. If I'm being completely honest, I'm not happy about this. I've already started to think of the baby girl as my daughter, and having him in our lives would massively complicate the family dynamic. Plus we live in Seattle and she met him in Philadelphia, so God knows how they'd even make it work if he wanted to be the kid's father. However, I recognize that this is a selfish reaction. If we have a chance of finding her biological father, we owe it to her do so, if only so that she has access to her paternal medical history and so that she can have a relationship with him if and when she chooses to do so. I've read a few accounts by children raised by non-biological parents, and a common thread is their desire to meet their lost biological parent, so that's that. We've ordered an Ancestry DNA kit for her, and I guess we'll decide our next steps once we get the results back in a couple of months. Redditor's reactions, story 3 after. Redditor 1, the way you're dealing with this with a level head is commendable, and that child is very lucky to have you. Many people wouldn't respond how well you are, and you deserve a ton of credit for that. Your life was thrown upside down and you're still putting the baby's best interest first. I hope everything works out well for you. You deserve that. Redditor follow-up, I wholeheartedly second this. Op's response to the situation is beyond admirable. Going the extra mile to even consider adopting the baby girl is an extraordinary display of altruism. I wish the best for everyone involved, but especially Op. Redditor 2, I'm glad to see the pieces are falling into place for you and ending up as well as they can in these horrible situations. Stay strong and live your best life, and be the best version of yourself you can be. Redditor 3, genuinely admirable how gracefully you're handling this extremely difficult situation. And not to mention how you're already looking out for the baby girl. Wish you the best. Redditor 4, I'm not willing to deprive her of her sons by seeking sole custody. One option you have here is to go through with the divorce, having a normal 50-50 custody split, but you two have a personal arrangement that you will keep the kids primarily and allow her to see them and spend time with them as often as she likes until she is capable of taking care of them for her time. That's only if you don't want her to still live with you until she can, though. I can see how that would be a very hard situation for you to be in. I'm sorry this happened to you, Op. You're handling it incredibly well. Redditor follow-up, I think that depends heavily on her capabilities at the moment. If she's suicidal, if she's not able to find money or work, if she's breastfeeding, then simply moving out is probably not actually simple. Redditor 5, so let me get this straight. Your cheating wife is living with you for the foreseeable future. Your cheating wife is heavily pushing for you to forgive her. You are prioritizing the stability and happiness of the affair baby. You are starting to see the affair baby as your own daughter and want to adopt her. This just sounds like forgiving your cheating wife with extra steps. If you don't want your life to change and want to ignore the humiliation and betrayal, then you should come out and say it. But this weird Frankenstein family you're trying to create is really dumb. Are you going to adopt every baby that your wife pops out from other men? No, of course not. So why are you playing dumb games right now? Redditor follow-up, because he's woke and the kid is mixed. He would have ducked off no problem if it was the same race, but he has this weird doormat attitude throughout both posts to not appear a bigot. Literally his wife throws him under the bus and his reaction is to solve racism. The fuck? Leave that to your wife, seems like she knows how to handle it better. Get your own black queen to raise babies with and solve racism if that's your plan. Story 3, my 20 M2 best friends M34, F29 are getting a divorce and I don't know what to do. Hi everyone. So I originally met my best friend M34, John, in college since we were taking the same classes. We didn't meet in person for a while though, but eventually we did. He was married at the time to his long-term girlfriend F29, Lisa, and we also quickly became friends. These two people were honestly amazing. They were smart, compassionate, financially well off, had a lot of experience in the world, etc. They eventually became my unofficial family, since my own family has a lot of problems that I don't want to get into here. 2 weeks ago, John told me that Lisa asked for a divorce. This honestly came out of the blue as far as I could tell, but Lisa told me a couple days later, privately, that it pretty much just boiled down to John refusing to open up about his feelings and talking about some of the stuff they went through early on in their relationship. She said the reason she thinks this is happening is that John has low self-esteem and carries a lot of hatred towards himself, which didn't let him feel like he could openly talk about his feelings about things. I related a lot to this, because I went through something like this last year, which ended up with me having a total mental breakdown, and almost committing suicide. The only reason I made it through was because they helped me through it. Lisa also told me that there is a chance of them staying together, but she really wants John to open up and be willing to talk about his feelings before that happens. As much as I want John and Lisa to stay together, life is life and I'm not trying to force anything. But I also agree with Lisa that John needs to be able to be open up about his feelings and work through his self-esteem issues, because I've gone through that before and it is like hell, and I don't want John to continue doing that. When John told me this, I was a wreck the first couple of days. It felt like my own parents were getting a divorce and all I could do was sit back and watch it happen. After a couple days, I basically decided to say WE to the whole situation and suppress my feelings and emotions, because quite frankly, now is not the time to explore them, and also I have a lot of experience doing this, so it required very little effort to do so. I know this is hypocritical, but that's what I needed to do if I intended to function at my work and life in the current moment. I reached out to both of them and I'm going to be hanging out with John later this week and maybe with Lisa sometime next month. I told them if they needed anything, no matter how big or small, they could always reach out and ask. But I've never had to deal with a situation like this before and I feel like I need to be doing more. But I also recognize that it is their relationship to work out and it isn't my place to offer advice or help them work things out. Is this the right approach? Is there anything I should or shouldn't do while they go through this part of their lives? Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1, you seem like a decent guy. Though you probably know it's not healthy to be that dependent on a couple, and I want to emphasize it. You should find your own family, i.e. partner and friend group, as these things unfortunately happen in relationships and they aren't too uncommon. Still, even if they were just friends to you, it sucks, but yeah, there's nothing you should or even can do about it other than listening and hanging out. Op answer, dating for me is off the table. I'm not allowed to date and frankly I also lack the self-esteem attractiveness to go out and date. I'm also hyper-focused on building my career, which results in having very little time to do anything else. I 100% agree with what you said about not being this dependent on a couple. Kind of realizing that now. I've had a couple rules in life, one of them being never become friends with anyone, only be an associate. They will eventually just move on. Unfortunately, I broke that rule when I became friends with John and Lisa, and have vowed to never let it happen again. You live and you learn, Ig. Redditor 2, you're a kind, caring and thoughtful friend. But as you said, this is between them to sort out how they're going to feel around each other going forward. Let them know you can be an ear but not a therapist. Be careful about getting emotionally intimate with Lisa. Op answer, thank you. Yay, definitely not planning on getting emotionally intimate with anyone. Lisa is like a mother figure to me honestly, and I have way too much respect for John to let anything of that sort to happen. Redditor 3, honestly my best advice is let your friendship continue with both of them. Let them sort through it themselves and be non-committal but emotionally supportive when they talk about what's going on in the divorce. You can't force someone to address their emotional issues, and sometimes opening up isn't helpful. Op answer, Ty for the advice. Do you think I should talk to John about opening up in general, not for the sake of getting back with Lisa, but for helping him process his feelings and emotions in everyday life? Or does that also come under the you can't force someone to address their emotional issues umbrella?